Today we're going to reflect on SD 50.7 Jhana Vinyana Sutta, the discourse on dhyana of the super knowledges, or the discourse on dhyana and the super knowledges. One can even say discourse on the dhyanas and the super knowledges. Now, so you have, this is a Dvandava, Jhana, Vinyana, Jhana plus Avinyana. And this sutta is very straightforward. It's very simple because the theme is very clear, or themes rather. The main theme is to remind us that the awakening of the Buddha and the awakening of the arhats are the same awakening. It's like being free. Once someone is released from prison, that's freedom. There is no this kind of freedom or that kind of freedom. It's just freedom. Freedom from imprisonment. Freedom from samsara. So the difference is only in terms of timing. Of course, this is well known. The teaching is found in the Sambuddha Sutta, where the Buddha declares that the awakening of his awakening and the awakening of the arhats are identical. The only difference is that the Buddha comes first, he discovers the path and declares it to us, and the arhats practice the path and they become awakened. So they are the followers, they are the anubuddha. So you have the Buddha and the anubuddhas. Basically, the sutta reaffirms that truth, that the awakening of the Buddha and the arhats are identical. Here in this sutta, the Buddha actually lists all those important stages related to arhathood. But he mentions one particular arhat, that is Mahakassapa, who represents the other arhats, if you like. And of course, we can also say that this sutta hints at the prospect of Mahakassapa becoming a kind of in charge of the Dharma after the Buddha has passed away, the elders of the monks, so to speak. Because, as we know, the right-hand monk and the left-hand monk of the Buddha and Moggallana predeceased the Buddha. So they've passed away, so we are left with the senior-most monk, that is Mahakassapa. There is also the Chivara Sutta, where we see the Buddha exchanging robes with Mahakassapa. So these scholars take this as hints, showing that Mahakassapa is a kind of the Buddha looks up to him as kind of leader, or one might even say successor, so to speak. Successor in terms of a teacher, not in terms of power or any other political way, because there is no such structure in early Buddhism. So let us now look at the sutta. The structure is very simple. There are only two parts. In the first part, the Buddha talks about what are called the 9 progressive stages of the arhat. And then in the closing section, the Buddha talks about the 6 super knowledges, which are the traditional knowledges of the arhat. But it's the way it is taught, the message that has been conveyed by this teaching that is important. Here again we see the genius of early Buddhism with some very simple basic teachings. They are rearranged to present to us this very vital fact or very vital ideas that Buddha wants us to know. That is the sameness of the awakening of the Buddha and the Arhat. Okay, so here the translation is on starts on page 51 of SD 50, Jhana Vinya Sutta, the discourse on the dhyanas and the super knowledges.
Page 56.
And the reference is S16.9. 16.9. And the translation starts on page 56. The Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi. Now we come to the first part on the 9 progressive stages. Nava Anupubha Vihara. Bhikshus, to whatever extent I wish, secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from the unwholesome, I attain and dwell the first dhyana, with its initial application, with its sustained application, with zest and joy born of solitude. So here the Buddha is saying he's able to get into jhana anytime he wishes, for as long as he likes. Of course, we have to understand the wordings very carefully here. In the second line, the Buddha says, secluded from sensual pleasure, secluded from the unwholesome. This doesn't mean that before these negative states are there in his mind. It just means that he's describing the jhanas. He's saying, well, this jhana which I'm experiencing is like this. Okay, it is free from sensual pleasures and free from the unwholesome. Of course, in the case of the unawakened, we have to kind of push away sensual pleasures for a while, forget about it at least for the moment of meditation, and push away the unwholesome thoughts and so on. So the Buddha says, okay, am I able to do this? And he repeats the same thing. He says, Kassapa too, bhikshus, to whatever extent he wishes, secluded from sensual pleasure, secluded from the unwholesome, attains and dwells in the first dhyana, with its initial application, with its sustained application, with zest and joy born of solitude. So basically, he's saying, well, this is what I attained, this is what Mahakassapa attained. So you can see here again the identity of the attainment. And then he goes on to the second dhyana. Bhikshus, to whatever extent I wish, by the stilling of initial application and sustained application, by gaining inner tranquility and oneness of mind, I attain and dwell in the second dhyana, free from initial application and sustained application, accompanied by zest and joy born of stillness. So here we have the second dhyana, the first two dhyana factors, that is vitaka, vichara, initial application, sustained application, are no more there. Only the other three dhyana factors remain, that is zest, joy, and stillness, or zest and joy born of stillness. Then the Buddha repeats everything and says, well, Mahakassapa too is about to attain this, and at any time he wishes, but for as long as he wishes. And then the Buddha goes on to the third dhyana. He says, Bhikshus, to whatever extent I wish, with the fading away of zest, I remain equanimous, mindful, and clearly comprehending and experience joy with the body. I attain and dwell in the third dhyana, of which the noble ones declare, happily he dwells in equanimity and mindfulness. So here, again, we have the standard definition of the third dhyana. You have even the zest is gone, PET is gone. We have joy, sukha. Here with the body means direct experience. And again, the Buddha says, well, Kassapa too is able to attain this. Then it goes on to the fourth dhyana. The Buddha says, Bhikshus, to whatever extent, with the abandoning of joy, the abandoning of pain, and with the earlier disappearance of pleasure and displeasure, I attain and dwell in the fourth dhyana, that is neither painful nor pleasant, and with mindfulness fully purified by equanimity. So this fourth dhyana, the key idea or key dhamma is equanimity, stillness, of total stillness of mind. The second line says, with the abandoning of joy, abandoning of pain, and this refers to the physical aspects. And then third line says, with the earlier disappearance of pleasure and pain, these are the mental aspects. So in other words, bodily feeling, mental feeling, all subsided, and all that remains is equanimity, dhyanic equanimity. Then verse 8, the Buddha affirms Kassapa too is able to attain this very same state. So these are the four form jhanas. Then the Buddha goes on to the four formless attainments. Section 9. Bhikshus, to whatever extent I wish, by completely transcending the perception of form, with the disappearance of the perceptions of sense reaction, with non-attention to perception of diversity, aware that space is infinite, I attain and dwell in the base of infinite space. Right, so here we have some idea how the meditator builds up or frees himself from the fourth dhyana, and he goes on to attain the first formless dhyana. In fact, meditation teachers will tell you the fourth dhyana is the basis of all the other four formless attainments. You have to attain the fourth dhyana, and as you refine the mental object, and you go through the various progressive stages of the attainments. So here what happens is whatever perception, whatever the inner seeing of form in the mind, that's all gone, and there is no more sense reaction. The senses totally at rest. The mind too does not have any kind of dichotomy, even no diversity, no idea of this and that, except the very subtle notion space is infinite. These are just words, but the reality is an experience. You see this space is everywhere, something like that in terms of words. It is, we're talking about an experience here. So this is the base of infinite space, the first formless attainment. So he says, well, I can attain this anytime I wish, for as long as I like. Mahakassapa too is able to do the same. And then he goes on to talk about the second formless attainment. He says, section 11, Bhikshus, to whatever extent I wish, by completely transcending the base of infinite space, aware that consciousness is infinite, I attain and dwell in the base of infinite consciousness. And then he says, well, Mahakassapa too is able to attain this. Then the Buddha goes on to talk about the third formless attainment. Bhikshus, to whatever extent I wish, by completely transcending the base of infinite consciousness, that's the previous one, aware that there is nothing. There is nothing. I attain and dwell in the base of nothingness. So notice the sequence here. After the fourth dhyana, the meditator kind of sees infinite space. Space is infinite. And then he lets go of that nimitta, if you like. And then he's only aware of the mind that notices that infinite space. so that the mind is the object. It is very subtle. Then in the third formless dhyana, the meditator even lets go of that awareness or that mindfulness of the mind that is aware. So that is the third formless dhyana, and then he declares, well, Mahakashyapa too is able to do this. And then he goes on to the fourth formless attainment, the last of the formless attainments, section 15. Bhikshus, to whatever extent I wish, by completely transcending the base of nothingness, I attain and dwell in the base of neither perception nor non-perception. Right? So this one is even more subtle. So once again, we can see the progression. First, there's this awareness of infinity of space, and then after that object is let go of, and then we watch the mind as aware of that object, and then we let go of the mind, there is nothingness, nothing left. And then finally we let go of that object of nothingness too. And the mind becomes so subtle we cannot say that it is conscious or non-conscious, neither perception nor non-perception. So here the word sanya means consciousness. Then the Buddha declares, section 17, Mahakashyapa too is able to do this. And then the ninth attainment is that of cessation. Section 17, Bhikshus, to whatever extent I wish, by completely transcending the base of neither perception nor non-perception, I attain and dwell in the cessation of perception and feeling. Only the Buddhas and the Arhats are able to do this. And then the Buddha declares, Kassapa too, Bhikshus, is able to attain cessation. This is in verse 18. So here we see all the 9 stages that are. Not only Mahakashyapa is able to do this, any full-fledged Arhat too is able to attain this cessation, and to some extent even certain non-returners who are very good in meditation can also attain cessation. And then the sutta closes with the 6 super knowledges. Okay, these are the traditional set of 6, the Chalabhinya. Section 19. Bhikshus, to whatever extent I wish, I wield the manifold psychic powers, and it's listed, okay, having a multiplication of the body, appearing in many forms. I appear and vanish, I go unhindered through walls, through ramparts, and through mountains as if through space. I dive in and out of the earth as if it were water. I walk on water as if it were earth. Sitting cross-legged, I go through the air like a winged bird. With my hand I touch and stroke even the sun and the moon, so mighty, so powerful. I power over my body up to as far as the Brahma world. So in a sense there's still some limit to this power. The Brahma world, that is kind of the form dhyanas. You can't go into the formless dhyana because in a sense there's no form there, so to speak. And then the Buddha declares, Mahakashyapa too is able to do this. He has all these powers. And then the divine ear, the second super knowledge. Bhikshus, to whatever extent I wish, I hear by means of the divine ear element, purified and surpassing the human, both kinds of sound, divine and human, whether near or far, clairaudience. So Mahakashyapa too is able to do this. Now we come to the third super knowledge, the knowledge of mind reading. Bhikshus, to whatever extent I wish, I know the minds of other beings, other individuals. I will encompass them with my mind. I know a mind with lust as a mind with lust. I know a mind with aversion as a mind with aversion, and then delusion.
Yeah, it's not a mind without lust as lust.
Right, so first, mind with lust, mind without lust, mind with aversion, without without aversion, and mind with delusion, without delusion. These are the three roots. And then the contracted mind, the distracted mind, exalted mind, unexalted mind, surpassable mind, unsurpassable mind, concentrated mind, unconcentrated mind, a freed mind, and an unfreed mind. These are all to do with dhyana. So Mahakassapa is able to do this just like the Buddha. Then the Buddha goes on to the fourth super knowledge, the knowledge of rebirth, recollection, or if you like, you can use the term retrocognition. Bhikshus, to whatever extent I wish, I recollect my manifold past lives. So this is his own past lives, able to know what he was in the past and so on. Right? So you can go back to many world cycles, hundreds and thousands of 100,000 world cycles, and he's able to see who he was in the past, and this helps him to understand himself, what he went through, and so on. In other words, he has a full self-knowledge of himself, and he says Mahakassapa is able to do this. Then he goes on to the fifth super knowledge, the knowledge of the karma of other beings. Section 27. Bhikshus, to whatever extent I wish, I see by means of the divine eye. So here notice this knowledge is subsumed under the divine eye. I see by means of the divine eye, purified and surpassing the human, beings passing away and reappearing, and I know how they are inferior, superior, beautiful and ugly, fortunate and unfortunate, in accordance with their karma. So in other words, this teaching talks about karma. So here we have two key teachings affirmed by the Buddha, that is rebirth and karma. Yeah. So he's able to see how those who do good, they may not suffer at first, but somehow karma comes to them in due course. And then he declares in section 28, Mahakassapa too has this very same super knowledge or superpower, if you like. And lastly, the most important of all, the knowledge of the destruction of the influxes. Section 29, Bhikshus, by realizing for myself through direct knowledge right here and now with the destruction of the mental influxes, I attain and dwell in the influx-free freedom of mind, freedom by wisdom. So in other words, he is fully awakened, fully enlightened. He's an arhat. Mahakassapa too is an arhat. So this last verse is very important. It shows both Buddha and the other arhats are the same, the arhats. So when we reflect on the Buddha, when we bow to the Buddha, we say Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arhathood, the arhat. So this is the key word. So the sutta ends here, but we should reflect on this term arhat. There's no difference between the Buddha and the arhats. We see in later Buddhism, they make such great effort to actually reject this teaching, which is totally wrong, and we should not fall into that trap of wrong view, because the sutta is very clear here about the Buddha as an arahat. His qualities are the same as the other arahats. Awakening are all the same. It's like we are awake and then we are freed from prison. It's the same freedom. So we should not differentiate into categories and ranks and hierarchy and so on, and saying things about the Buddha which he misrepresenting the Buddha, saying that he's not really fully awakened and the arahats are not fully awakened. These are really terrible things to say. We should not accept such teachings. There's nothing in the sutta to say to accept such teachings, and a lot of teachings to reject this kind of wrong views. So please study the sutta, reflect on its teaching, and just free your mind and go into meditation so that you will be able to attain the path in this life itself. Now let us close this reflection with a short, close the study with a short reflection. While the Buddha's teaching is still with us, we are very fortunate to have the tools of reaching the path for self-awakening. So let us make every effort to study, to practice, and to realize this path before the teaching is forgotten. That will be very difficult for us. So let us go back to the Buddha, practice the Dhamma, and be free from suffering. Reflecting in this wonderful truth is a wonderful good karma. And by the power of the three jewels, may we cultivate loving kindness towards ourselves for our well-being and happiness and good health, and wisdom to practice the Dharma, so that we have the courage to aspire to at least towards stream winning in this life itself. By the same token, by the goodness of the three jewels, let us send out our loving kindness to all our loved ones, those who have been supportive of us, those who practice with us. May they be well, may they be happy. And also to those who are struggling with the Dhamma, seeking the path, may they see the true teaching in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.